Yeah, I'm Stephen Jannise. I graduated 2010 with a master's in media studies from RTF. And I'm currently the director of film programming and content strategy at the Paramount Theatre in downtown Austin. Well, I've thought for the longest time when I was getting my master's degree that I was going to carry on and get my PhD. And so it wasn't until pretty late in my master's program that I decided I wanted to go do something else. And so I was sort of scrambling towards the end there when I was graduating of just finding a job that I could, get while I got my feet under me. And I ended up working for a tech startup that uh, honestly was going to pay me more money than I had imagined possible after immediately graduating. And what I learned pretty quickly is that that wasn't going to be what drove me in my career. I was pretty miserable the whole time, and I felt a little bit like I had let myself down by not trying harder to find something that I had studied film for a total of 6 years between undergraduate and my master's degree, and so I saved up enough during the short time that I worked there that I was able to quit without having another job to go to, and just kind of waited until the right thing came around, which ended up being director of film programming at Austin Film Festival. And it just sort of I lucked into the fact that that role came open at that time, which those kinds of roles are pretty few and far between. Once people get them, they usually don't want to relinquish them unless they're going to go do it somewhere else. So so I got that role, and it was just honestly, I think when I was studying and I thought I wanted to, stay in academia or go into film writing, I'm not sure I was really aware of film programming as a job even. I don't think it occurred to me that there was someone getting paid to choose the movies that you would go and see at a lot of places, and so just the idea of that was brand new to me, and so it was a crash course, and especially in the film festival world, of understanding how the submissions process works and screening and choosing films for competition. And I was more on the studio side, so like working with the major distributors to get some of the big headliner films into the Paramount. um, and so I think in a weird way, as much as my master's experience helped me from just a film background point of view, I think the kind of intangible people communication type skills that you inevitably get in this type of program helped me kind of build relationships with these executives at these studios that I just sort of was overwhelmed that I was getting to talk to. And so yeah, so I did that for 2 years and had a great time. Yeah, I mean, I studied a lot under Tom Schatz, who wrote Genius of the System, which is like my favorite ever film book, and just having that kind of push against auteur theory and an understanding of what was really at work in the kind of earlier years of Hollywood. Um, Played a big role. I mean, I already was such a classic movie fan, and so essentially, after spending 2 years at Austin Film Festival and getting to know the people at the Paramount Theatre through that job, um, the idea of getting to program the summer classic film series was something that probably spoke to me even more, just because I grew up watching TCM with my mom and that sort of thing. And so the the professors that I got to study under and the people that I met and became friends with in my class, definitely like influenced me. And I ended up having Tom, to the Paramount one year to show a film and that sort of thing. And so um, getting that kind of background in theory and history and criticism kind of gave me the foundational knowledge to be able to choose from the entire history library catalog of movies ever made, and every year try to pick 100 of them to show at the Paramount. It's gonna be a daunting task, but It kind of depends on where you're doing it, and I think also like the community that you're doing it in. So like here in Austin, we were lucky to have a number of different venues and groups doing films, and they all kind of have found their specific niche that they're covering. And so um, I don't feel like as concerned about needing to do like if I were the only thing in town, then it would be even harder because it's like I feel like I need to cover every single base for the community that I'm living in. I think some places it is all about the programmer like establishing their taste and people understanding what that taste is. I think when you work at the Paramount, it's a venue that is so much for all of, we want everyone in Austin to find at least one thing that makes them want to come and experience this amazing, beautiful 109-year-old movie palace. And so it can't really be about me. Like I need to make sure that I'm putting stuff in there that covers the full depth and breadth of movies. And so that means occasionally that I show things that like wouldn't necessarily make my all-time favorite list, but I know that it means a lot to a lot of people. And so all of that factors into it. And then, every year we try to highlight movies that are experiencing like landmark anniversaries. If there's films that have been newly restored, we want to bring those in. So it's a lot of things those things kind of help me narrow down a little bit and decide like what we want to play that year. Um, I mean, I've gotten to do so many fun things. I think it's always exciting when I get to bring other people in to program instead. And so, like most recently, we had Robert Rodriguez, who's always been a friend of the theater and always supported the series, and obviously has premiered a lot of his own films there. But he is such a scholar of movies and a teacher of movies in his own way. He's written so many books about how he made movies and wants to pass that knowledge on to people. And so he programmed a series of films that inspired him this past summer, and it was a lot of fun because he showed things that maybe people would have expected, like Escape from New York, but he also played What's Up Doc with Barbara Streisand and Ryan O'Neal. And so many people showed up because he programmed it who had never seen it before, and it had just the best time. It was like one of my favorite nights. And I also got to have Robert Osborne from TCM a few times before he passed away, and he picked one of his favorite movies, Dodsworth, which I had never even seen before. And so, I don't know, I think again, just what I studied in school, sticking very heavily to like film history theory has helped me like keep up with those kinds of people in conversations when we talk about what sorts of things we want to play and all that. And so, yeah, I think that's really helped. Yeah, I think the weird thing about it is, most places like Austin Film Society, for example, they announce their calendars like every 2 months, and so they get to be a bit more timely with things. Like you can jump on like things that address what is the current conversation, and sometimes I wish I were able to do that, but it's like right where I started planning for the summer in January and February, and these are films that are going to be playing in like August and September. And so it's just like trying to find themes that I will feel like I will still be excited about 6 months later. And I try to do a range of, like celebrating a specific filmmaker or actor. Last year, I had just seen the new Ant-Man movie, which I thought was really bad, and I thought it was a shame that Michelle Pfeiffer was wasted in it because I think she's so great. And so, like, I did a Pfeiffer-verse week where I just did a bunch of Michelle Pfeiffer movies that I like, and had a lot of fun with that. And then, we have some like traditional things like Hitchcock Week that we do every year, and it's like I know I'm going to do that, but like, what are the Hitchcock films I'm going to do? And I want to try to get a range of like his like thriller, horror tinged ones, and like something more like To Catch a Thief, which is a bit more on the romantic side. So it's like themes I want to do, but also when I put it all together and kind of step back and look at the whole thing, I want to make sure that like there's something in there for everyone, and that everyone feels like they're being represented in the films that we're showing. And so sometimes I go back to the drawing board and tinker or move things out or save them for the next year. But I don't know, I'm lucky in that sometimes it just reveals itself to me. Like I said, when I look at the list of all the movies I want to show, and I kind of be like, oh, that one and that one and that one kind of go well together, and then it springs from that. So I think there's such value in doing this program, even outside of whatever the specific thing you're doing it for is. Like, I just think the way that we are asked to be very rigorous in how we make arguments, and the way that we lean on each other for help in these kinds of programs, is the type of experience that I think, from what I can tell, a lot of people aren't getting when they go do a business or some sort of undergrad and then kind of just go out into the world. I think this program builds really good character in people. At least it makes the type of people that I would want to work with. And so I would say, like, be confident that you can actually bring a lot to a lot of different types of jobs and places, even if it doesn't end up being a type of job or place that you thought you'd end up at. Like, there's but on the same token, kind of like we started this with, like, also don't sell yourself short and kind of abandon what it was that you like were really passionate about. It's worth trying harder to find a way to use what you've just done, and it's worth it's worth doing that work and trying to find that thing. I can say that from my own example. So